Hey guys, and welcome back to Book Reviews with Emma. Today we are going to dive into the book we've all been waiting for, Battleground by Jim Butcher. And I love to say it, this is my favorite book I have ever read, my favorite Jim Butcher book, my favorite book in the Dresden Files, my favorite book of this entire year, maybe my favorite book ever. And I'm gonna do this short little spoiler-free video telling everyone that you need to read this. And then I'm gonna jump into a really long spoiler-filled video. So there'll be two different videos. You're safe on this one, alright? So this is the 18th, 17th book in the Dresden Files and comes right after Peace Talks. We got two books this year in 2020. Thank you. It was very helpful. This came out on September 30th, and I bought it a couple days after, and it was flying off the shelves. So get yours as soon as you can. There's hopefully going to be a restock or something soon, or order it off a website. It'll come whenever they print more. We all know if you read Peace Talks, it left you on this huge cliffhanger, and you knew that Battleground was going to be a huge battle. It makes sense. And it is, but it's also more than that. It's not your normal Dresden Files book. And it also is not like Changes. It's got some similar aspects, but Changes, I'm just gonna say Changes was something that the whole series had built up to Changes, and Changes leveled it all out. Battleground, again, everything built up, and Battleground just made the foundation even stronger for things to go up even more, which is really scary, but really good. And Jim artfully worked with this book. We got to see all the characters that we have been meeting throughout the books, some new people, a couple tidbits of information that we've been waiting for, and some sadness, so be prepared for that. That's definitely something that I'm going to talk about in my spoiler video. This book made me laugh, made me cry, made me smile and happy, and the ending did not rip out my heart, but it was pretty bittersweet. It was a bittersweet ending. And wow, also the cover art, beautiful. Again, this book was about 30 bucks, 28 I think, and that is a lot for a book, but it was worth it. So maybe if you guys need to wait for a paperback version or the audiobook, audiobooks are always nice, I think, especially when you don't want to pay $30 for a 420 page book. But hey, the pages are really big, so it's a lot. And this is a fast read if you are as driven by it as I was, because I got it on Thursday and I finished it on Friday night, really late at night, but keep in mind I also have class and work, so I finished it pretty much within 30 hours, and it was so worth it. I need to read it again because there were so many little nuances. I swear, it wasn't just one big battle. It was a huge stage. Every 200 pages you're onto a whole new stage of the book, and something big happens, and we learn some big things in each one of those, which is really important. And when you're reading it super fast, you're like, oh, I need to read this again to make sure that I caught everything, because this had a lot of stuff in it. There were definitely a lot of hints towards Starborn and all this stuff, but again, we didn't figure out everything. This was not the end-all book. It left a lot for us to still be questioning, which I like, because it wasn't like Changes where I was like, oh my god, how is there another book? Ah, this was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? Like, is it gonna be this person and this person? Is it the conflict gonna be with them or them? Like, there's still more. There's still more. And you finally figure out why the heck Ithenu was even, like, a problem. Because that was my big thing with peace talks. I was like, this just came out of nowhere. Like, why? Why is this happening? And now I know. And I'm like, okay. I don't like that anymore. I didn't want to know that, but it's fine. There was definitely character development. Harry, Ramirez, Ebenezer, Mab. Honestly, Mab and Molly, they both had some pretty interesting developments. And Waldo Butters, beautiful. So if you love any of those characters, you're gonna love to see, like, what they do in this book. Everyone has their own badass moments, like super awesome badass moments. Marcone. I don't know if everyone likes Marcone. I personally really like him as a character, even if he is a crappy person. He had some cool moments, and I was just like, whoa, whoa. So that was definitely awesome. I think everyone had their time to shine in this book, and there was plenty of time for it because instead of being over a couple of days, this was literally just a span of hours in one big battle for one big book. I mean, the end has a little bit, like, continued on, but the main part of the book, like the 380 pages, were all of this battle and the before and the after. So, I stayed up really late reading this, and now it's been about 12 hours since I finished it. I gotta let it sink in a little bit, and there's some things that still have not sunk in that are gonna take a while to process, and if you've read it and you're reading this, I think you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it, and you're going to, you will know what I'm talking about, because it's pretty obvious. Overall, I don't think there was a moment where I was lost or where I didn't want to read it anymore. For a book, like, that's pretty good. Like, sometimes longer books, this is not very long, especially for, like, us Harry Potter and other book readers. Like, 400 pages, that's half of a book for me, honestly. But it was supposed to be part of 2 books, I understand that. He always usually writes smaller, like, books, and that gives us more books. I'm fine with that. But it was so hard to put down, and if you were like me, that's a great thing, but not when you read it in like 30 hours. But, okay, my one critique is I want to read it again. This book is addicting. You can't put it down. My critique is literally nothing. I can't think of anything right now. My mind is still blown. It was not predictable. I would say some things I had definitely guessed. If you check out my Peace Talks bingo, it was totally off for Peace Talks, but a lot of the things on my bingo had possibly some connection to Battleground. Okay, not a lot. Maybe like a couple of the things I was like, wow, spot on, Emma. So go and read my Peace Talks bingo. I know it's Peace Talks bingo, but honestly, it's Battleground bingo. I called some of these things, I swear. Me and my uncle were talking about it, and we were just like, how is this happening? What's gonna happen next? And I want us all to have a conversation about it in the comments below, because it was literally that good, and there is so much that you can gather from this. There were a lot of little tidbits of information. I really want to say some of these things, but I know it's spoiler free. I have to wait till I make the next video. Dresden is always balancing on that middle line between monster and good guy. And that line gets really blurry, especially in this book. there were some moments where he crosses the line on both sides. So I think it's interesting that we as the reader have to acknowledge that our favorite character, like, I don't know how he couldn't be your favorite character, may be slowly turning towards the dark side, but the core of him is still there. You can tell the core of him is still there. And there were some good moments where he was the good guy, obviously, still. Even if no one else sees it, even if no one believes it, he still has that core, the core of Harry Dresden. But there was one last point that I had. Well, this isn't it, but it really tied in a lot of the different people that we got to see throughout all the stories. So if you're a fan of people that you haven't seen for a little while, or you haven't seen some of these people in action for a while, or maybe they haven't been in a book before, they came in. Like Ivy, White Court, Black Court. Like, we got to see a lot of people that we haven't seen for a long time. I guess we've seen White Court, but, you know, I just wanted to give some little examples that maybe don't really give anything away. And we get to see Harry again with the big leagues, actually with the, like, unbelievably godly leagues, holding his own weight somehow. And there's some cool things that we never knew that he could do that happen in this book. So, if you love Jim Butcher, if you love Harry Dresden, if you love fantasy, magic, wizardry, fae, vampires, anything of the sort, you need to read the Dresden Files. Like, if you're just watching this to see if you should even get into the books at all, the first couple ones start off slow, build, but Jim Butcher is a genius. He's a writing genius. And once you get past changes, you will understand the capacity of his genius, or you can at least try to understand, because I don't even think I completely understand. He is a legend. And once we get to the final 3, like, Apocalypse books, I don't even, like, I know he has something crazy in his mind that we won't even be able to expect. Like, sure, I could make some little predictions about what people are going to die or get together or change, because, like, I'm a writer, I understand some, like, build up and obvious cues or more subtle cues. He weaves in some subtle cues throughout every single book that you will realize when you see something and you're like, oh my god, I get it now. And there was some things like that in this book. In the beginning you're like, ha 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 ha, awesome. Then you're like, what? And stay tuned for the next video if you have read the book, because I'm gonna dive into those. It's probably gonna be a really long video, but my not corona. My next favorite thing, my wrap up about it, is this book actually broke, like, the third wall sometimes. There were some lines in there when he was like, huh, you wouldn't know anyways though, you weren't there, like, speaking to the reader, and I would just laugh and crack up. I think there's been some kind of, like, third person entry, second person entries in Jim's books. That's what I really like about them, is how it's kind of like Harry's talking to you at some points. And this one had, like, more than that, and maybe I just noticed it more, or maybe he added more in, but it added a lot to the story, and I really liked that kind of narration in some points. But yeah, overall, you cannot beat this book until Jim Butcher releases another, and then you can. That's what I thought about Changes, and now this is the new best book I've ever read. I thought Changes was one of those best books. I thought he was pushing boundaries there. No. Yes, this is the book that you need to read. Alright, I think I spewed enough for now. Go check out my video breaking down some of the biggest things that happened in Battleground and making some predictions next time. Alright, see ya!